My talk is kind of basic. I'm going to talk about trifocal versus the Edof with basic for those actually lenses. How do they work? The comparison between them. So types of presbyopia correcting lens actually in the past was accommodative IOLs, just like crystal lens from Bausch & Lomb, but actually nowadays not used because of the many problems. And then after that came the multifocal lens. It's actually, the name should be bifocal, not multifocal, because it gives you just near and distance. They have problem with the intermediate vision, just like the Restore from Alcon company. Because of this problem, they invented trifocal IOL, which gives you three foci, which the near, intermediate, and distance. An example of those lenses are Panoptic from Alcon and Fine Vision from Physiol, and many other companies do this. Then came out the Edof, which is the short term for extended depth of focus, but sometimes it's called extended range of vision. An example for that is actually Lucidis from Saviol company. When we say this is an Edof lens, doesn't mean this is a pure Edof. It has Edof actually technology in it. Not mean that's a pure Edof. We're going to talk about it in a second. Recently, Johnson & Johnson company developed another lens which is supposedly hybrid. It combines the Edof and trifocal. Let's talk about trifocal. So trifocal came after with the problem with the bifocal, with the multifocal, where there is only near vision and distance vision, and the patient were complaining about the intermediate vision, just like dashboard of the car and the price tag and cooking, for example. So they came up with the idea of trifocal to give you another focus in the middle, in the intermediate. How did they do that? They changed the design and the number of the rings in the IOL. So the concept of trifocal is like that. They have rings, diffractive rings. The trifocal diffractive rings, they changed the rings. So they have actually, if the rings are the width of the rings or they are smaller, it means gives you more add. If it's like more width, gives you less add. The pros and cons of trifocal: it has a good near vision and intermediate vision. The problem is the contrast sensitivity is diminished. They have the photic effects that they talked about, like halos and glares. And also another problem is doesn't have continuous range of focus. So you have a focus at near, you have another focus in the intermediate, and then in between there is a blur. So that's why the Edof idea came out to give you a little more continuous range of vision. The concept of Edof actually is to give a continuous range of vision by the mechanism of spherical aberration. The lens has a bulge in the center, gives you a little spherical aberration. So this elongate the depth of focus, so the patient sees with this spherical aberration, but there is a limit for that. Most of the Edof gives you only +1 add, no more. When we have the Edof like Lucidis or like Symphony, they give you a little near vision, not because it's a pure Edof actually. They have other mechanism, trifocal component to it. Like in Symphony, they have also diffractive rings in addition to the Edof. And also in Saviol company, they have refractive rings in addition to the Edof. So the Edof doesn't give you more than +1. Any company that tried to give more than this, actually they went out of market, because you have to increase the spherical aberration too much that the image, the retinal quality or image of on the retina will be not good and disturb the vision. And also Edof, the central part is for near intermediate vision, and the distal part is for actually distance vision. That's why it's pupil dependent. If you have a small pupil, what happens if the pupil is small? Distance vision will be affected. Those patients will actually notice this when they come in a bright light. The pupil becomes suddenly smaller, and that part, the distance part, which is surrounding this bulge, is not going to get into the pupil, so distance vision will suffer. The pros and cons for the Edof: it has a good distance vision and intermediate vision, less photopic effect, a more continuous range of vision. It's more forgiving for centration. Actually, sometimes even if you have some decentration, it's okay. Doesn't affect you. Near vision is not optimum. That's why they have to add, sometimes diffractive rings or multifocal, trifocal component to it. Just like we mentioned, it's pupil dependent. So if you have a small pupil, you're going to have some problem with the distance vision. Sometimes, when we use a trifocal and when we use an Edof. For me, when I have a student that reads too much, they really need a near vision. For a teacher, for office employees, managers, they need a really near vision. They don't have driving. I choose trifocal lens. For those patients who are housewife, cooks, or drivers, they need intermediate and distance vision more. I use Edof. The best candidate for both types are hyperop, and the worst candidate for both types are myop. Actually, for me, the worst candidate for both of them is barber. I don't know. I mean, I have really bad experience with barbers. They never get happy. I don't know why. Recently, they tried to actually get the benefit of both worlds by combining the trifocal and Edof together. However, combining both of them, it will not give you the benefit of both worlds. The problem is when they try to actually put that spherical aberration ring, bulge in the center, they have to have the ring a little wider, so the near vision will be a little compromised. However, it gives you more continuous range of vision when there is an Edof combined with the trifocal. So an example of this is Synergy. It actually combines everything. It has refractive rings in the front, and then a Edof component, and then a diffractive ring at the back surface of the lens. And that concludes my lecture, and thank you very much for your attention.